Hi, welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. I'm Rob Astorino. So the Democratic Party is fracturing by the day as radicals plot their takeover. Democratic Socialists of America backed candidates winning primaries across the country, and their momentum doesn't seem to be slowing down, sending panic waves through the left. So-called moderate Democrats, they're just less crazy, but they're prepared for war against an ascendant left. One group saying the progressive winds are deeply troubling and is planning a $15 million effort against the Democratic Socialists. Now, the next big test is only a few days away in Wisconsin. Francesca Hong, have you heard about this one? She's emerged as the party's front runner in the race for governor. Her very unimpressive resume touting a failed restaurant and a few years as a state assembly person. But she's the latest DSA puppet looking to take over the state with radical policies.
Rapid fire. Do you support repealing Act 10?
Yes.
Universal child care?
Yes.
Free school meals?
Yes.
Guaranteed pay leave?
Yes.
Abolishing ICE?
Yes.
Public grocery stores?
Yes.
A free Palestine?
Yes.
We have to dismantle police unions, defund the police, protect Black lives.
The service industry, our industry really did come from it and kind of is rooted in white supremacy.
And polls have her up 22 points in that primary, which has the establishment Democrats kind of soiling in their pants and worried about the ramification across the board. Now, former Obama White House strategist and advisor David Axelrod, he's concerned that Hong's win will tank the chances of radical Abdul El-Sayed in neighboring Michigan. So he posted on X, "It would be good for Abdul El-Sayed if Francesca Hong loses her bid to become the Democratic nominee in Wisconsin next week. He's a serious person. She is a font of zany liberal faculty lounge exotica." But the Republicans would surely try and link Abdul and Hong as philosophical kin. El-Sayed pretending he isn't a socialist. I mean, he just likes to hang out with them, right? But his campaign is a mirror image of the DSA. Take a listen.
I think we need to abolish things like the filibuster and the Electoral College. If you cannot stand for trans rights, do not be surprised when they come for your rights.
You said when they go low, we choke them out.
I mean, their choice to go low. Don't go low. I'm just saying.
ICE cannot be reformed. ICE cannot be retrained. ICE has to be abolished.
Do you believe Israel has a right to exist?
A right to exist. It's interesting because nobody's ever asked me whether or not I believe Palestine has a right to exist.
Abolish prisons, abolish ICE, Medicare for all, universal child care, open borders, freezing the rent, all straight out of the DSA agenda. But he's not a DSA guy. This is now who many of the big names in the Democratic Party are throwing their support behind. Liz Warren, who, mind you, also said Nazi tattoo Graham Plattner was her kind of guy, heaping praise on the far-left extremist.
You know, he accomplishes it, I think, by being very clear about his message. I've seen Abdul, I've been there with him to campaign with him. He connects with people and reminds them ultimately the power is with people. It is with voters. And that energizes folks to get into it, to get into this fight. That's how we're going to win in November.
She is so giddy. El-Sayed's list of supporters growing. Chuck Schumer now admires him after his win, despite El-Sayed declaring he'd go after Schumer in the Senate. Time to grow some you-know-whats, Chuck. Potential 2028 frontrunners also jumping on the bandwagon. Kamala Harris today endorsing his race. Tonight beat Buttigieg, remember him, hosting a joint rally with El-Sayed. This is the way of the party. Here was the president on El-Sayed.
You have people getting in office right now who will destroy this country. You're a person in Michigan that won the other night.
Abdul El-Sayed.
He is a disaster for the country. Got a good line of stuff. I watched him. He speaks well, speaks okay, seen better. But I'll tell you what, guys like that get in, they'll destroy this country.
Yep. El-Sayed's race showing just how strong the socialist insurgents are. And the New York Times wrote about it. El-Sayed's narrow nomination in one of the country's signature swing states represents a critical moment for the party's middle, which had previously sought to cast the far-left successes as contained within the country's most urban and liberal corridors. Socialism is no longer isolated in deep blue New York or Chicago or Denver. It's a growing blob oozing into every city and every state, And the radical left has taken a sledgehammer to the so-called blue wall, which might come crumbling down in November. Here's Speaker Mike Johnson on what's really on the ballot.
I believe we're going to hold the Republican majority in this midterm election. It's a fateful one. And right now it's a contrast election for everybody. They've got to make a decision. Do they want to continue with common sense, growth, and opportunity? Or do we want to go to this dark, dangerous, deadly road of communism? That is the contrast between common sense and crazy.
Caroline Shinkle is a New York congressional candidate. She is seated. Well, I didn't take English.
I'll take it.
Yeah, she's seated. I went to New York schools. She's right next to us. All right, year 6 of a presidency isn't always, kind to the party in power. But do you get a little more confident of Republican wins as as the left keeps going more and more radical and taking control of the Democrats? I mean, you're right in the middle of it.
It's true. Running here in New York City, I see everything. We are ground zero for this craziness. Mamdani lives in my district, by the way, Rob, but he will not be voting for me. I'm sure of that. But when you look at what the DSA stands for, they've told us exactly what they want to do. Abolish the Senate, abolish the presidency, eliminate the Supreme Court, eliminate prisons, eliminate national borders, eliminate Israel, and eliminate our country. None of this is mainstream. None of this is normal. And if you ask the average American voter out there, do they agree with any one of those things? The answer is no. So the fact that these people are getting traction, I think it's a problem with the primary system. I think it's a problem with our education system. Students aren't being taught about any of this stuff. I mean, there are people wearing Mao t-shirts out and about in New York City. They don't know what the hell that stands for.
No.
So we got to do a better job of focusing on the issues, focusing on the economics of it, and focusing on candidates like myself who are trying to do the right thing and give voters a real choice. Yeah, I mean, normal Democrats, and there are some left, and the middle class, I mean, they want nothing to do with this nonsense. And El Sayed exemplifies that, though, and they're scared of him. Take a listen.
Counties, El Sayed won in the primary. 0 of 15. 0 of 15 with the lowest share of college degrees. Ergo, he did not win in those working class areas. Where he did win, he won 13 of the 15 counties with the highest share of college degrees. So you're thinking about Democrats having real trouble amongst the working class. El Sayed's support came dramatically from those areas, in fact, not where there is working class folks, but where there are highly educated folks, more from elite circles than from the working class circles.
So the more degrees you have, the stupider you are when it comes to voting, obviously. That's what it sounds like. And these people, these non-college educated voters, these are hardworking Americans. They're out there, propping up this failed thinking. When you think about it, these are the ones out in the streets doing the hard work. We need to make sure our message is resonating with everybody. And yes, I'm a member of the Republican Party, but Rob, this is not a political fight anymore. This is not Republican versus Democrat. This is a fight to preserve our Western civilization. And we've got an opportunity this November to course correct. So we talk about these primaries and these crazy candidates getting traction. It's only a primary. So we got to get out there, get mobilized, get excited, and make sure we send a serious signal to the world that we're not going to be taken over by this radical ideology. Otherwise, why did we win the Cold War? Why did we win World War II if we're going to let New York City and the rest of the country bow down to this radical agenda? It can't happen. Yeah, and that should be the message for Democrats, too. It's not about your party anymore. It's about this country. Let's bring in Elizabeth Pipko. She's a former spokesperson for the RNC. So you got the primary for Wisconsin governor. That's Tuesday. Francesca Hong, a real winner. She's a socialist. She's up more than 20 points right now. Elizabeth, do you think Wisconsin might actually have a socialist governor? You think she can win in November?
I don't know. I think she's going to take the primary. As we see with that polling, her numbers are only going up. Ironically, it's kind of like Kamala Harris on the 24 campaign. Every time she opened her mouth, her numbers went down. This is the reverse. Every time this woman opens her mouth and says something more anti-American, her numbers seem to go up in the Democrat base. So I do think she's going to take that primary, but I cannot imagine this is going to take over and win anyone over in a purple state like Wisconsin.
Well, here's somebody that every Democrat wants to hear from. Hillary Clinton. She's got advice for the next Democrat administration. Listen to her.
First, get rid of all of the holdovers. Do not let anybody hang around in some small office somewhere who can literally subvert your program, and you don't even know that person's there. So people are going to have to be really searching to make sure that they are not going to be literally subverted from within the government.
That's a really good point.
That's a really good point. Elizabeth, she just won't go away.
She won't. Look, it's almost funny because I can't stand her. I was proud to work on the president's 2016 campaign where he obviously killed her in those numbers and delivered the kind of victory that I think will go down in American political history. But at the same time, when I hear her voice, when I hear what she has to say, it actually brings me back to a time when Democrats seemed normal. I thought she was a horrific candidate in 2016, and yet I can guarantee you she would never find herself campaigning with someone who said that Americans deserved 9/11. I can promise you that. So when you hear her words and you realize what we thought was a bad candidate in 2016, you realize how much worse things have gotten in just 10 years.
Yeah, and Caroline, as you campaign for Congress, I mean, obviously it's tough. You have a very uphill battle, but you never know in these kind of times. And are you running against Mamdani? What are you running against?
I certainly am, because my opponent endorsed Mamdani and supports Mamdani and is bending the knee to this radical agenda. So a vote for my opponent, unfortunately, is a vote for Mamdani and the DSA, the delusional socialists of America. We can't allow that to happen. There are enough common sense, normal New Yorkers out there paying taxes, wanting to provide for their families. My message is resonating with them. We're going to win it in November. We're taking back the city, Rob.
He was booed in Staten Island at a police event. Good. Caroline, good luck. Elizabeth, good to see you.
You too, thank you.
All right. Reports indicating a deal to open the Strait of Hormuz could happen pretty soon. Is it real this time? Our next guest, retired Lieutenant Colonel James Carafano, weighs in and reveals why he believes President Trump has already won the war in Iran.
A Social Security update. Millions collect Social Security, but 70% of Americans don't get their full benefits. Now, a new report shows how to boost your Social Security by as much as $188,000. Author Matthew Allen reveals 5 key strategies in a new report. Newsmax calls it the best guide for retirees. Everyone needs this free Social Security report. Act today to get your full benefits.
Hi, I'm Mike Hammond with Signal Relief. If your back bothers you day after day, you know it doesn't just affect your back. It changes how you stand, walk, sleep, and how you feel about yourself. Maybe you smile through the grandkids' game, the grocery store, the yard work, or the family trip, quietly counting the minutes until you must sit down, or maybe you just miss those moments altogether. I know how frustrating it is when your body starts making decisions for you. And that's why I'm proud to introduce Signal Core, our new back support system built specifically for everyday backaches. More technology means more relief, and Signal Core has twice the technology as the original patch, and it comes with our money-back guarantee. It's targeted drug-free back support that you can wear through the day. Try Signal Core today by going to signalrelief.com and order your Signal Core.
They want to make a deal. Look, it's obvious. They don't want to be hit. Okay, they want to make a deal. So we'll see.
President adamant that Iran wants to make a deal over the Strait of Hormuz and that it could come soon. But something Trump is facing a dilemma. He may have to compromise and given the Islamic regime some sort of control over the vital waterway. Iran reportedly refusing to budge off its demand for tolls and oversight over the shipping lanes, a deal that the president doesn't want to make. However, if the war drags on, gas prices are going to stay high, which poses problems for Republicans in November. Now, according to reports, Iran is very aware of the political impact. The Guardian writing, Tehran has set out a protracted negotiating table designed to keep Donald Trump embroiled in the Iran conflict until the midterm elections. Iran hopes a long war would have the same blow to Trump's presidency as it did with Jimmy Carter. Retired Lieutenant Colonel for the U.S. Army, James Carafano, he joins us now. So you recently wrote an article for 1945.com, and you say that Trump has already won the war and that you think he's on the verge of, I don't know, the biggest reshaping of the Middle East since Moses, writing, a win is to squash Iran's capability to destabilize the region. From the Abraham Accords to the work of the Board of Peace and major economic initiatives like IMEC and TRIP, The expectation is that the real measure of Iranian defeat is if these initiatives flourish. That's the theory of victory. All right, so you have a much different perspective than a lot in the legacy media. The coverage of the war is completely negative, so you break it down for us on why you think this way.
Yeah, well, it's because my analysis is grounded in reality, and theirs is grounded in politics. Look, first of all, I don't care if there's a deal. It's irrelevant. The U.S. went to war with Iran because it was the chief destabilizing threat to America's interests in the region. All the things that allowed them to do that, they've been destroyed. Today, Iran physically could not build a nuclear weapon, even if they wanted to. They can fire a missile here and a drone there, but they cannot threaten any neighbor in the region with, we will fire death from above and bombard you with armadas of missiles. And they can't. Their surrogates are completely useless. Iran can't fund them. They have very little capacity, and they're just duck in their heads. And so all the things that Iran could use to bludgeon their neighbors and to threaten the U.S., they're literally off the table. And so people are like focused on the Straits as if the Straits mattered. They don't. A year ago, 30 to 40% of the world's oil transited through the Straits. And Iran could say, I could shut that off. Well, today, they can't do that, and they will never be able to rebuild the capacity to do that. First of all, exports from the region, by some estimates, are already back up to 2/3 of what they were pre-war. Some countries like the UAE is pumping 85% of what it did its pre-war. And a lot of that oil is moving through places other than the Gulf, other than the Straits. And the Iranians cannot close the Straits, and they have a limited capacity to interdict the Straits. And here's what happens. Every time the Iranians do something, Trump goes back in and he services them again. And if you think of a timeline to how long would it take Iran to get back to being the threat it was to America and the region a year ago, and that number is now in months and years, depending on what you're looking at. In some cases, drones maybe a couple of months, missiles maybe years, nuclear arsenal that's maybe off the table for a generation. Every time Trump goes back and he does 1 day of military and economic operations, that adds weeks and months to the hole that they have dug into. So today, Iran is exporting zero oil. So the number to rebuild the arsenal, rebuild their capabilities, rebuild everything, that number's already in the trillions of dollars, and it's never going to get smaller. And charging tolls on the Strait of Hormuz is not going to get them back in the game.
No, it's not. There is psychological issues, though, with the tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. They are concerned about things. But I appreciate you coming on. Good stuff. And I don't even have a follow-up question. You were succinct. James, thanks. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
All right, coming up, it's the rise of machines. This is scary stuff as OpenAI admits its own artificial intelligence went rogue and hacked other tech companies. I mean, really, they went into sensitive data they got. A group of state attorneys general are now demanding answers. The AG leading that coalition, Brenna Bird, she joins us next.
All across the nation, people can't stop talking about Carl Higbie and Frontline for the big news they need to know. Watch Carl Higbie and Frontline weeknights at 6 p.m. only on Newsmax.
I'm putting with Abe Lincoln's cane right now.
These are 40-something years old.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, come on!
I really believe that God put us on a course to take care of all these catastrophic needs of service members, Gold Star widows.
It's because of all of them that we get to do what we do.
Let's do good together.
Let's do it. People got to give every time I miss.
You got to give $11.
There we go. You're the man. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org.
It's 2 a.m. Your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed. And you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, You don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
Our national security has been compromised.
INS targets could be released publicly.
You must assume they have your phone, assume they have everything.
I'm gonna find whoever was behind this, and I'm gonna kill them all. Move.
My dad had never been in better shape. Then he had a stroke and passed away. But he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still taking care of us. Ethos.com, 10 minutes, 100% online.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
You didn't just buy your land, you earned it. And for more than 30 years in this country, Mahindra tractors have earned something too. The trust of landowners who know what real toughness looks like. With powerful engines that work harder, heavy steel builds that last longer, and intuitive controls that are easier to use. Mahindras are made for the folks who earned them. Mahindra, outworking the field. For the first time ever, get 0 for 96 or up to $4,500 cash back on select models.
A coalition of 15 attorneys general are now demanding answers from OpenAI after the tech giant run by Sam Altman revealed details about how its own AI models or agents went rogue, hacking into their internal infrastructure and other companies like Hugging Face, the world's largest open source AI platform. The artificial intelligence agents, these are computers, communicating amongst themselves for months in private message boards to plan their hacking spree, right under the noses of OpenAI employees. The agents accessing secret information. This is terrifying. This is like the rise of the machines type stuff. Here's OpenAI executives talking about the incident at Cybersecurity Convention yesterday.
On July 16th, Hugging Face released a blog post detailing that they had seen a security attack from autonomous AI agents. OpenAI reached out to Hugging Face to determine if we were impacted. When we requested that Hugging Face revoke these credentials, they informed us they were already revoked because they were used in the Hugging Face breach. And then we realized that these two incidents were in fact the same incident, and that actually the root cause of our internal breach and the root cause of Hugging Face's breach were the same OpenAI agent evaluation runs.
And this guy has no emotion. I mean, this is frightening. The group of attorneys general believe OpenAI may have violated state and federal laws, including consumer protection and data privacy statutes during the hack. Iowa Attorney General Brenna Bird joins us now. She's leading the coalition of AGs seeking answers from OpenAI. So this is kind of a turning point for AI. Has OpenAI given you any answers? I mean, what's the next step if they refuse to cooperate?
Well, no answers yet, but this really is a nightmare scenario when you have something like this where it weaponizes itself, it hacks, and they weren't even aware of it until it was reported to them at OpenAI. So a very serious breach, very serious hacking incident. We've asked them to preserve everything related to it, protect any whistleblowers so that we can get to the truth, and to make sure this never happens again. So we're waiting on that information from them. We will be looking into it, seeing what went wrong, who knew what when, and then taking any further actions that we need to take to protect the people of our state and my state, Iowa.
Yeah, just so people realize, they might be like, what? These are computers, AI. talking to other computers and figuring out on their own how to hack another company. I mean, this is like really frightening stuff. The president spoke about, he spoke to Punchbowl News on the importance of data centers and winning the AI race, especially against China. Here's what he said.
When they build a plant, they're becoming like a utility, a public utility. So they're building a big portion of the building is now their own generator. So we're not taking that from the public. We're not taking it from the grid. And then at a very cheap price, and maybe for nothing, they're taking their excess electricity, which will be a lot, and they're putting it back into the grid. Taxes are going to go way down because this is a tremendous source of income. We can't let China beat us at this. A lot of people think that the campaign that's being put on is being paid for by China. A lot of people think that because they are losing to us in AI.
All right, so data centers and AI, it's become a pretty hot button issue. The technology obviously is vital, but there needs to be regulations. It's a political issue right now, too. Some states like New York have a moratorium on it for a year. What are your thoughts?
Well, data centers are certainly a hot button issue. When I see the weaponized AI that OpenAI, Sam Altman have unleashed, and all that could go wrong with that, with cybersecurity and how that could truly be used as a weapon, we certainly don't want China to have dominance in that type of technology. It's really important that we put America first and Americans first, and we protect our technology, that we protect Americans from any dangers, including a weaponized form of AI that could be used for cyber attacks and other things that are certainly nightmare scenarios. So I think the president is right to realize that America must always be first when it comes to this sort of arms race with AI.
If these AI computers on their own steal information, hack into something without the actual people knowing about it, who do you prosecute? It's like, who do you go after?
Well, I think we know who's responsible. It's OpenAI. It is their AI tool that did this. They should have had better security procedures in place. They should have made sure that when they're testing it, that's in a closed, isolated environment. That is a very basic principle, and they failed to do that. So there's a number of failures, some negligence that certainly appears may have occurred. Of course, we want to get to the bottom of this based on all of the facts, but they're certainly responsible. It's their AI tool that did this.
Well, this is an interesting one. It's going to get more interesting as this gets more developed. Brenna Bird, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we got some breaking news tonight. The Pentagon revoking access to classified information for the former Air Force Secretary over leaks of classified info. Chief Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell announcing the decision on X and writing, effective immediately, the Department of War has revoked former Secretary of the Air Force Frank Kendall's eligibility for access to classified information and his ability to hold any sensitive position. This action follows his unauthorized disclosure of classified information regarding Air Force One's capability to a media outlet. He leaked. Safeguarding classified information is a non-negotiable duty. Those who violate that trust forfeit the privilege of access and any role requiring it. The administration taking the leaks of classified information very seriously, and we will keep you posted of any more developments on this one. All right, wait for this one. A 75-year-old man says he regrets voting for Trump because his 45-year-old illegal alien Venezuelan fiancée got arrested by ICE. She's in the process of being deported, and he's crying to CBS News about it. That's next.
Love Jasmine. That's it.
American spirit. It drives the Good Ranchers mission. Forged under open skies. Woven into who we are. From thundering cattle to the laughter we share around the table. It's a legacy carried forward. One meal, one gathering, one generation at a time. This is Good Ranchers, an American meat company built on American spirit.
My friends, I come to you today on behalf of the Jewish people in Ukraine whose lives have been completely destroyed. Family and loved ones brutally killed. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is inside of Ukraine, providing emergency food and supplies to tens of thousands of people.
I am shocked how many elderly people came here. They're afraid, and they realize now that there are more people than boxes.
For just $25, you can help rush an emergency food box to the elderly Jews in Ukraine. Many of them are hungry, frightened, and alone. Today, there's a special opportunity to double your gift's impact. Call now, and your gift's impact will be doubled.
The people of Ukraine are caught in the crosshairs of war. Many of these precious people are Holocaust survivors, elderly Jews who are sick and dying. They have no food, and we must reach them now before it's too late.
The world is in a war again. I am alone. I'm afraid of the bombs. I'm scared. I am old. There is no food.
Just $25 helps rush emergency food to elderly Jews in Ukraine who are in urgent need today. Please call, scan, or go online right now.
I will not starve. Thank you, good people.
We can be the hope to the Jewish people who are suffering in Ukraine. Your help is desperately needed now.
Thanks to generous fellowship partners. Call now and your gift's impact will be doubled.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
Hi, Mom. I can't wait for you to hear well again, so I won't have to scream to tell you that I love you.
Now tell me if you can hear this. Hi, Mom.
It's not just your hearing. For us, it's your life. That's why we created the Miracle Ear Way, offering unlimited care, including risk-free trials and free servicing to keep you connected with your loved ones at all times. Book a free test. Call 1-800-644-2288.
Gannon says he deeply misses his fiancée, who remained in ICE custody, facing deportation.
Jasmine's good as gold. Love Jasmine. That's it.
That's multi-millionaire Texas businessman John Gannon literally crying to CBS News about his illegal alien Venezuelan fiancée who got picked up for deportation by ICE at the airport. Here's how it went down.
His fiancée, 45-year-old Venezuelan immigrant Yasmin Suarez-Reyes, was detained by ICE at George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston in late July.
8 ICE agents swarmed Jasmine, detained her, didn't tell us why, and rustled her off into a car.
According to her immigration lawyer, Suarez-Reyes came to the U.S. legally in 2023 and later applied for asylum, a case that is still ongoing. But her underlying permission to be in the U.S. has lapsed.
Maybe she loves him for his flowing gray hair and not his bank account, or as a potential path to a green card. Is their relationship real? ¿Cómo se dice anybody sugar daddy in Espanol? Gannon is described as a lifelong Republican who says he voted for Trump in 2024 and feels betrayed by this.
I voted for Trump. I am saying that they are picking up law-abiding citizens. They're destroying families.
John Gannon is a 75-year-old businessman and lifelong Republican who supported President Trump in 2024.
I wouldn't do that again, not after this fiasco.
Some people may say this is what mass deportations look like.
They're not going after the hard guys. That's too difficult. It's easier to pick them up at the airport.
Maybe this is just what it's like to overstay your visa. DHS has responded to this story, writing, "Reminder, a pending immigration application does not confer legal status. ICE arrested Yasmin Suarez Reyes, an illegal alien from Venezuela, after she overstayed her lawful admission to the U.S. by over 2 years. Don't be like Yasmin. Take advantage of our CPP app home offer and get $2,600 and a free flight home. Dr. Michael Savage joins us now. Don't you feel sorry for this guy?
Well, I actually do. I don't agree with any of your positions on this.
Okay.
I know you're not going to want to. I know you're not going to want to hear it.
No, go.
I happen to know that ICE is not going after the worst of the worst. They're afraid of the gangbangers. I know it because I live in San Francisco. I know the streets very well. I'm not sitting in an ivory tower. They're going after innocent people like her. Here's a guy who voted for Trump, who's saying he'll never vote for him again. And the answer here, I'm afraid, is true. Why are they picking up women who present no threat to the society? Okay, you could argue she broke the law because she's here illegally. That is a valid point. But is she a threat to our society? If so, how? The true threats to our society are the heavily armed gang members who are not being touched by ICE because they might get shot. So what the ICE members, in my opinion, are doing, and I'm a hardcore conservative, borders, language, culture, anyone could quote me on this. What ICE is doing is going after the low-hanging fruit that poses no threat to them. Just as cops for years have always given tickets to soccer moms rather than those who may be dangerous. I know I've just alienated everyone in the audience who loves police and loves ICE, but it doesn't mean I'm wrong. The fact is, this is why Trump's popularity is falling. And I may not agree with many of these things, but it's undeniable that Trump's popularity is falling. It also explains why these socialist maniacs are rising. The pendulum is swinging and people are saying, I really don't care who it is. It's anyone but this administration. There are too many problems. Epstein, Iran war, Ukraine war, out of control spending, insider deals, going down the list. I'm voting for anyone, even a left-wing Maoist maniac, because we can't take it anymore. Do I agree with those positions that they're taking? No, I've opposed socialism my entire political career. My father fled communism in Russia. So, no, I understand both sides. It doesn't mean I have to agree with everything that ICE does.
No, look, I see that side to it. I think the reaction, though, from some is, okay, wait a minute, I like this one to go, not this one. It's okay for this one to overstay, not that one. And I think what Trump is trying to do, or ICE is trying to do, like, look, you have an opportunity to self-deport. If you're not going to take that, then, you know, you're as guilty as somebody else, and we got to do what we're supposed to do. But let me ask you about something else, and this is really important, too. Trump signed an executive order today meant to combat birth tourism, right? Targeting children born to foreign mamas who expressly and deceptively enter the U.S. for the sole purpose of having a child on our soil, which immediately makes them an American citizen, right? So the order is going to limit the use of surrogate mothers, too, for the same purpose. Here's the top Trump advisor, Stephen Miller, from the Oval Office.
The idea that people come here pretending to be a tourist, pretending to be a visitor, saying they want to go to Disneyland, they want to go visit a monument or go to a national park, but the real reason they're here is to have a child, to make that child an automatic citizen, leave our country, and then have a U.S. citizen child. It gives them access under this broken system to welfare benefits, ultimately to the voting booth, and all the other rights and privileges that belong solely to Americans. So that practice of birth tourism is, as of the signing of this order, hereby banned.
So I think you're right, or could be seen as right, by, you know, the first one where the lady was picked up at the airport. I think some people would have disagreements with me and you on that, either way. But that and this, you know, birth nonsense, I think that most everybody probably agrees on, right?
I certainly agree with Stephen Miller on this. I've been opposing birth tourism for many, many years. We know that there are birth factories in this country, motels, hotels been rented by Chinese nationals, Indian nationals, and others, and coming here specifically to birth children who become citizens so they can go home and bring the whole damn family in here. So this chain tourism is what's creating chain immigration, chain citizenship, and chain voting against the American way. Absolutely right to do that.
Dr. Michael Savage, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we're less than 90 days away from the midterm elections. And our next guest, Dick Morris, who advises President Trump, he thinks that the GOP is going to win and maintain their control of the House and the Senate. Except in a new op-ed for Newsmax, he argues that even if Democrats win in November and take control of the House, they're going to be beholden to the socialist wing of the party. The piece is titled, "How the Socialist Tail Will Wag the Democrat Dog in the House." Dick Morris predicts that these 7 socialist candidates, look at them, that they're going to win their House races in November, saying that the number could be even higher. Let's hope not. He points out if Democrats take control of the House, which I do not think is going to happen, at least 7 of their at least 218 members were going to be socialists, 3%. Now, he also adds Hakeem Jeffries will be beholden to the DSA in order to be able to use his new majority. So Dick Morris is here with us now. So elaborate on that.
Well, in a very closely contested House, which whether the Republicans or the Democrats win it, it's going to be fairly close. A block of 7 members in the majority can really control the majority. And the socialists are going to say, we won't go along with this, we won't go along with that. You have to do what we say to get our votes. And those 7 votes will be the tail that will wag the dog. So that if you live in a district where you have a moderate Democrat, you say he's no socialist, I can vote for him. Bear in mind that he will then, if he's elected, have to follow the lead of the socialists in order to use his majority in the House.
And the leaders are going to do that, too. No question about that. Now, the president sat down for an interview earlier today, and he says Republican voters are angry with Republicans, but not him. Take a listen.
A lot of them are very angry at Republicans, to be honest with you. Why is that? I don't know. I mean, they're angry at Republicans, but they're not angry at me.
Why?
They're not angry at me, but they are angry at Republicans.
All right, so what do you make of that?
I think he's right. I think they're very angry at the SAVE Act not being passed. Look, the media is, as always, jimmying and lying about the polls to create the impression that Donald Trump is in trouble. He's not. McLaughlin, who is the most reliable pollster, ever since November last year, does monthly polling. And every single month, Trump is at 48, 49, or 50% approval. Never higher, never lower. Absolutely flat. Never seen anything like that. And 49.8 is what he got in the election, enough to win. I think that Donald Trump is in good shape. I think the economy is pretty good for him. I hope the Iran war ends. And in the head-to-head generic ballot, McLaughlin has it only as a 2-point Democratic win. And you know well that because the Democrats are so concentrated in certain minority districts where they win 95% of the vote, if the Democrats don't have a 4-point or 5-point edge in the popular vote, they'll lose the House.
That's right.
So I think the Republicans will win it. But my point is that even if the Democrats do win it, the socialists will control it.
No question. They're in control of the party right now.
Yeah.
Dick Morris, good to see you.
Thanks.
All right, as the woke WNBA can't decide whether or not they want biological men to play in the league, former NBA player Enes Kanter Freedom is now declaring himself an official WNBA prospect. That is great. And that is next in News from the Left.
After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect.
Hi, I'm Mike Hammond with Signal Relief. If your back bothers you day after day, you know it doesn't just affect your back. It changes how you stand, walk, sleep, and how you feel about yourself. Maybe you smile through the grandkids' game, the grocery store, the yard work, or the family trip, quietly counting the minutes until you must sit down, or maybe you just miss those moments altogether. I know how frustrating it is when your body starts making decisions for you. And that's why I'm proud to introduce Signal Core, our new back support system built specifically for everyday backaches. More technology means more relief, and Signal Core has twice the technology as the original patch, and it comes with our money-back guarantee. It's targeted drug-free back support that you can wear through the day. Try Signal Core today by going to signalrelief.com and order your Signal Core.
Feeling winded and short of breath when you should be enjoying life? Your days are made for more than this. And if you find yourself stopping more and more to catch your breath, you could be experiencing what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency. Don't let shortness of breath ruin your day. Give yourself a boost with Boost Oxygen. A few deep breaths of Boost Oxygen is all you need to help combat the negative effects of what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency, so you can get back to doing the things you love. Boost Oxygen contains pure supplemental oxygen that is safe for daily use and comes in a portable, lightweight canister without a prescription.
Now I live life on my terms. With Boost Oxygen, I am unstoppable.
Get all-natural 5-star respiratory support with Boost Oxygen. Get Boost Oxygen at these fine retailers.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drew. You know, our cells oxidize, and fatty 15 reduces that risk of cellular membrane oxidation called ferroptosis. C15 is the longevity nutrient. I just find it so fascinating that it was a veterinarian studying the Navy's fleet of dolphins who discovered C15's importance to the health of mammalian dolphins and mammalian humans. I take this nutrient, my family takes the nutrients, you should too. Fatty 15 has benefits that people actually see and feel.
Welcome back. I'm Rob Astorino. Rob Schmitt has the night off. Time now for news from the left. I love this. WNBA star Sophie Cunningham set off a firestorm for saying that biological men, we should never have to even say biological, but we do, they shouldn't be allowed to compete in women's sports, right? Pushing back against the transgender propaganda of the left and standing up for little girls across the world. Woke WNBA coaches, fans, and players, they're too afraid to stand with Sophie Cunningham and common sense, fearing backlash from the woke mob. WNBA player Gabby Williams says she actually supports bringing transgenders into the league.
Trans rights right now is our new battle. We see trans people's rights being, stripped away from them. There's a lot of discourse around trans athletes and what they can compete in. I would welcome a trans athlete on my team or against my team anytime. I don't think it's a problem in the world. It's just another way to kind of attack trans people.
All right, Gabby, she might soon regret her position because former NBA player Enes Kanter Freedom, he's 6 feet 10 inches, has now declared himself as a prospect for the 2027 WNBA draft.
After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA. Based on the current guidelines, I can and am officially declaring my eligibility for the upcoming WNBA draft in May 2027.
I bet he looks great in high heels. He's dead serious about this, too. This is great. I love it.
I am definitely not here to mock, make fun of, or disrespect any community or personal choices. I am simply asking that the current rules be applied equally to everyone. The rules that represent the very values many WNBA players and coaches have publicly advocated for. And I look forward to the WNBA honoring its stated principles. See you at training camp.
Newsmax contributor Kay Smythe joins us. So earlier today, the WNBA Players Association released a statement denouncing transphobia and saying that they won't be used as political pawns. I mean, honestly, wouldn't you love to see Enes Kanter Freedom and 4 other former NBA dudes say they're women and just watch the fraudsters in the WNBA squirm? What would they do?
I think it would be magical. Well, let's be honest. It will probably be the highest viewership they've ever received ever. They'd make an absolute killing on the advertisements. I don't even know if that's a thing. Do people buy ads at the WNBA? I don't know anyone that watches that stuff. But I just think it would be magical. And this is exactly what we need. We need people to actually take action against this stupidity. We can sit here and talk about it till the cows come home, but this is This is why I love America. It's so men like this can stand up, point a finger at the absolute absurdity of this situation. There's a lot of other situations that we could do this with, let's be honest, from the left. So yeah, I'm here for it. I love it. It would definitely be my first time viewing a WNBA game, and I think it'd be magical. It'd probably be kind of violent, though.
It would be great, and I hope they all wear mustaches, too. And how many points per game do you think Enos would have in a WNBA game?
I don't know a whole lot about basketball, but I'd imagine
over 40
anywhere
or
between
50, and you'd be right.
I mean, I was going to go up to like the 300s.
You could.
He's just going to stand there and just do this the whole time, just on a loop.
That's true. That's true. Hey, you know another winner, soccer player Megan Rapinoe. She's completely hating on Sophie Cunningham and Riley Gaines for standing up to protect women's sports. Here she is.
I don't know Sophie, so I can only project what I see about her beliefs based on her actions. And seeing a picture of her with Riley Gaines after the game told me everything I need to know about what's happening. Riley Gaines has made it her life's mission to exclude trans people from public life.
Okay. I mean, that's not what they're even doing. They're not excluding them from, from public life. They're saying a guy is not going to play in a woman's sport, which she should be absolutely in favor of.
She should be, but Megan Rapinoe hates women. She's so obvious about it. I remember years ago when I was still writing for the Daily Caller, she spent half of her 15 minutes of fame back then complaining about the fact that, that we should have more trans people in sports. It's like, Megan, darling, if you did that, you would never have had a career. Stop pulling the ladder up after you. There are other young girls across this country who want to be professional athletes. That's never going to happen if we actually let men compete in women's sports. So yeah, every time Megan Rapinoe opens her mouth, I just think, ugh. And, oh, great. Okay, here's another rant against women, because that's what it really is. Like, if you're pro men in women's sports, you hate women. That's the math.
You know what? I don't think I could have said it better. Look at the New York Post, by the way. Let's take a look at the New York Post. Dr. Fauci and his wife, Christine Grady. She's flipping the bird. And this, of course, comes after Fauci refused to answer any questions under oath in front of the Senate, pleading the fifth 111 times. The Senate voted to hold him in contempt. We'll see what happens with that. But, I mean, is this guy ever going to face the music? Is he going to get away with everything?
I don't think he's gotten away with anything when it comes to the court of public opinion. And, I don't understand the legality of everything that he did. I know what I think he did in my head, and I think he may have killed a huge number of people. I can't prove it, but this is just sort of my opinion on the matter. But I think in the court of public opinion, we're all pretty set on Fauci, right? Like, I can walk into a room anywhere in this country and say, hey, did you benefit from lockdown? Do you actually think that it, helped to, 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Yeah. Okay. I have friends that have vaccine injuries. Like, the world knows what this man did. So, is he going to face the music legally? I hope so. But I think in the court of public opinion, he lost a long time ago. And I'm glad for that.
Yeah. Well, if he said today to half the country, wear 6 masks tomorrow, they would do it. That's how crazy they are. Kay Smythe, good to see you.
Thanks so much, Rob. Have a good night.
All right. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere.
When you're in the news business, it never stops. News is always breaking, and it's my job to get you the news, no spin, no BS. If you don't believe us, just watch us.
Watch Finnerty, weeknights, only on Newsmax.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Sienna, and we started Create after realizing that the incredible daily benefits of creatine could be for everyone, not just gym goers.
Our incredible tasting Create gummies were designed in partnership with top creatine scientists and researchers and help support daily energy levels, boost mental clarity, and build and retain muscle.
They come in several delicious flavors, and there's no measuring or messy powder, so it's simple to keep a routine.
Create is creatine for everyone.
Learn more at trycreate.co.
Don't kill your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Bat.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out.
It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consult are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528. Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consult are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528.
I have a wife and 4 kids. If anything ever happens to me, I want them taken care of. That's why I have life insurance. Ethos. 10 minutes, 100% online. Done.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
48% of Americans aren't getting enough magnesium, which is essential for nerve, bone, and muscle health. I recommend Cunol High Absorption Magnesium Glycinate. It's gentle on the stomach and helps you get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
That's all we have for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Hey, make sure to check out my show, Saturday Agenda, tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Republican Mike Rogers joins me. He's going up against the leftist darling Abdul El Sayed in that big Michigan race. Another Rob is coming up. Finnerty, he's next. Have a great weekend.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.